The high-ceilinged parish hall pressed down like the lid of a pot as I stood at the front, back to the chipped crucifix and the green velvet curtain. My palms sweated into each other behind my back while the crowd, my family, some neighbors, half the Sunday congregation, folded arms, slapped thighs, leaned forward as if for a performance. Sister Beatrice, hair pinned in a tight bun, clutched the microphone with the sanctimonious devotion she reserved for this kind of thing. "Meisures," she said, like my name was a litany needing correction. "Tell us again, please, what you wish for your life." I felt my mother's stare slide over my neck like an icicle. She sat in the third row, her purse perched on her lap, knuckles clenched, jaw tight. My grandfather beside her, silent in his unhappy dignity. I swallowed. Behind me the sunlight filtered through the stained glass and painted halos on the wall, but there was no warmth in its light. My tongue felt thick. "I want to be a writer," I said, and when the first titter surfaced, Mrs. Rojas always eager for gossip, I flushed, heat crawling up my cheeks. "Not just any writer," Beatrice pressed, voice arching toward encouragement but dripping with condescension, "but a novelist." "Isn't that right?" Laughter rolled across the rows, choppy and half-choked. My cousin Damien elbowed his friend, hissing, "What, you'll starve in Paris like those poets? Waste your life on stories, huh?" Someone else called out something about buying lottery tickets, how the odds were better. I felt the steel clamp around my spine then, growing tighter with every snicker. My mother gave a tiny shake of her head, as if to say enough before the embarrassment burrowed any deeper. I looked at her, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Beatrice cleared her throat, her expression gentle. "We all have to earn our keep. No, it's good to have dreams, but we also have to be realistic. Work in the family shop, Meisures, be practical." I absorbed her words in silence. Hum of fans, coughs and murmurs melting together. Outside, I imagined somewhere in the city another kid was joining a football club, or shadowing his father at the bank, or simply not being declared a fool in front of the people he'd known all his life. The meeting moved on, prayers and money for the orphanage, a cake raffle, old ladies hawking dulces on the folding tables. I slipped out, passing Don Ventura in the vestibule as he muttered, "Novelist, maybe write about this, Chico." It was meant as a jab but half-hearted, not cruel. "Still it's strong." At home, the shaming returned in sour aftertaste. My mother faced the stove with her pale blue apron tied too tight, frown lines graven on her forehead. "Matty," she said quietly, "you know we cannot support such foolishness. Your Uncle Vito said you could help at the meat stand." "I don't want to," I replied, more quietly than I'd intended. The window above the sink was cracked and around it drifted dust motes in the dusk, floating and meaningless. "You can write for yourself at night if you must," she pressed, voice rising a notch. "But you cannot waste your future." She glanced at me, eyes wet and softened. "Those people do not mean to hurt you, you know, it's just, no one we know has ever done it before, Meisures. Novels are for them. For foreigners." "I'll do it anyhow," I said, tears threatening, "even if it's just me." School, then university. I trained myself to write in the morning before dawn, before the house stirred, before the day made me small. Cheap coffee, trembling light through the window, and the soft tap of keys as I built worlds only I could see. My father's brother put me to work, hauling crates at the shop, then as a cashier. I watched people argue about salame prices, gossip about neighbors. At night, I wrote, pocket notebooks on the colectivo, napkins in cafe corners, whole chapters on public library computers. The city battered sleep from my eyes, but I held to my stories like a raft. Every year, at Christmas or All Saints' Day, the family gatherings replayed old patterns. "How's the job? What are you really doing? Do you still scribble those childish stories?" I learned to nod and let it slip off like water over marble. Tenderness for them, a hard little kernel of steel for myself. Damien dropped out of school, started driving taxis. He looked older now, paunchy, resigned, his manner jovial until too many drinks revealed envy instead. I sent manuscripts everywhere. The emails never came or came back with standard rejections. Too local, not marketable. By 27, Buenos Aires seemed too large, a city of 1,000 voices that would never be mine. My mother watched, quiet, worried, loving and helpless. Then, a Thursday in April, rain slicking the glass, an email appeared with a subject line I almost deleted unread. "Debut novel publication, congratulations." My vision blurred. I was sure it was a mistake. But there it was. "We love your manuscript. We want to publish it. Here are some contracts. Could you come to our office in Palermo?" I remember running out of the shop, apron half off, through the grey streets and up to our apartment 3 flights above an expended fruit market. My mother sat watching the evening news. I crashed beside her, too breathless to speak. For a moment I could only grin. "I did it, Mama," I whispered, voice snagging. "They're publishing my book." She blinked at me, suspicion then hope. I shoved the phone under her nose, the lines of acceptance visible. I hadn't cried since I was a child, but the tears came then, salt and relief and disbelief. She pulled me close. For the first time her embrace felt not like protection but pride. The months sped up. Edits, meetings, book covers, photo shoots with smirking photographers who posed me like an exotic vase. Una novela argentina que interesante. A year later, the book appeared in glossy stacks in El Ateneo and the window of small chain stores. Reviews in local papers called me distinctively Buenos Aires raw with yearning. The advance was not huge, but for the first time I bought something for my mother, a new stove, a nice one. She wept. But what I could not predict was that the book would not just sell but catch like a fever. It moved through the city's veins, taxi drivers read it, university girls passed it around, even, I was told, the bishop picked it up. Then came the award nomination, the interview on TV Publica, invitations to festivals. Strangers stopped me on Avenida Corrientes, asking about the lovelorn character, the boy who never fit in. Sometimes they asked, "Is it you?" And I never knew quite what to answer, but what I wanted most was to bring me back to them to face the doubters. Now I had the story in hand, something more solid than a dream. I wanted to lay it before them and see their faces. A year later, a letter arrived. Would I attend the parish charity event, the same place, the same crowd, to speak about fulfilling dreams? I knew it was not just about me. There would be children there, their parents, neighbors, and the old guard, the very people who taught me shame. My mother looked at the invitation, stroking its edge. "You have to go," was all she said. That night I ironed my best shirt, plain white, faded in the cuffs. I brought 2 copies of the book, one for Beatrice, the other for the parish shelves where, as a boy, I'd borrowed the lives of others. As I walked swinging between streetlight shadows, my legs threatened to give out. I passed storefronts with dusty mannequins, the bakery where I'd sat scribbling, the tiny plaza weighed down by jacaranda trees. The city hummed around me, loud, living. I felt every inch rooted to the place. The parish hall smelled the same, floor polish and incense and aging plaster. The banners were new, an evening of inspiration, but the faces were not. I saw Mrs. Rojas pecking at her phone, Damian by the lemonade, older, shaggier, my grandfather serene but wary, Sister Beatrice by the stage, her bun impeccable. My mother sat in the 3rd row like before, but this time her face was light. People glanced my way, unsure would I be awkward, boastful, ridiculous. Some expected a show. Beatrice greeted me first, eyes flickering at the book tucked in my arm. "Meisjes," she said, warmth threading through her voice, "what a pleasure." I waited as the crowd settled, children on laps, men shifting in chairs. The microphone felt lighter now. I cleared my throat, steadied by the lines of steel within me, but also by a great tenderness for this place and its people, even their doubts, their laughter, their own fears. "Thank you," I said. When I was 17, I stood here and said something that seemed impossible to everyone, including sometimes myself. A few chuckles, half embarrassed. "I want to thank you, yes, even those who doubted me, because every no shaped the hunger inside. I wrote because I needed to, not for applause, not for money, but because I couldn't live otherwise." Faces softened, some looked away. "I brought something," I continued. "This is my novel, it was published last spring. It's set here in our Buenos Aires, these streets, our families, our way of loving and wounding each other." I held it up, the gold-embossed cover glinting in the church hall's artificial light. From the back, Damian whistled, awkward but proud. Mrs. Rojas dropped her phone, her jaw slack. My grandfather's gaze softened, the corners of his mouth twitching toward a smile. Someone nudged a friend, whispering, "That's him, look, that's the book." I passed a copy to Beatrice. She traced the title with trembling fingers. "You did it," she said softly, full of conviction, her voice cracking. An old neighbor, her hair shorn tight, raised a hand. "Is any of it about us?" she asked with a nervous laugh. "All of it," I replied. "We are always writing the people we know and love, even especially if they were harsh." As if drawn by some current, people pressed closer. Damian reached out, clapped my shoulder. "We were wrong, Primo," he admitted, no bravado. "You made us proud." His eyes shone with something I hadn't seen since we were kids, hope maybe. My mother took the other book, her hands steady at last. "Your father would have been so proud, Meisjes," she whispered. She blinked, fighting tears. It was only then, standing there surrounded by the doubters and the faithful, the old teachers and neighbors, their faces all cracked open by surprise and recognition, that I understood I'd come home not just with a book but with proof of the possible. They shook my hand, asked for autographs, offered shy apologies in the form of "you always had that imagination" or "I knew you'd go far." I let it all in, the words both balm and reopening. The roughness remained, but now it had a purpose. Later, after cake and speeches, after the hall had emptied and the city's night pressed in, I walked through the warm avenues arm in arm with my mother. The jacaranda petals arranged themselves like confetti on the stones. She squeezed my hand. "You brought it back to us," she said, simple as that. We stopped beside the shadowed park, and I looked back at the glowing hall, the laughter still audible from certain windows, proof that the sting of shame could seed something stronger, lasting. My city, my people, my family, my story. I pictured the boy I used to be, alone in the pew, small hands molding hopes that felt impossible. I wanted to tell him the laughter would fade, and that even tenderness coupled with a sliver of steel could crack the world open wide enough for his dreams. I kept walking, carrying both, the weight of their disbelief and the gentler, lasting warmth of having proved them, if not entirely wrong, then at least not entirely right. The city shimmered around me, old and new. I was myself. A boy from Buenos Aires who had written his way home.